Nigeria's political journey since our independence has been a dramatic blend of democracy, military rule, civil war, and eventual return to sustained civilian government. On the 1st of October 1960, Nigeria gained independence from Britain with Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa as Prime Minister and Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe as Governor General. 3 years later, in 1963, the country became a republic, with Azikiwe assuming office as the first president and Balewa retaining the position of prime minister. The first republic was built on a parliamentary system with power largely shared among three dominant political parties: the Northern People's Congress in the north, the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons in the east, and the Action Group in the west. But the regional nature of politics, coupled with growing mistrust among ethnic groups, soon led to instability. In January 15, 1966, Nigeria experienced its first military coup led by Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzegu, in which Prime Minister Balewa and several leaders were killed. General Johnson Aguiyi Ironsi took over on January 16, 1966, but was assassinated 6 months later in a counter-coup on July 29, 1966. That event brought in Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon as head of state. Gowon presided over one of Nigeria's most turbulent periods, marked by the Nigerian Civil War. In May 13, 1967, Colonel Odumegwu Ojukwu declared the succession of the Eastern region as the Republic of Biafra, plunging the country into a bloody 3-year war. By 1970, the war ended under Gowon's regime with the declaration of no victor, no vanquished, though scars of the conflict remained. In July 29, 1975, Gowon was overthrown in a bloodless coup by General Murtala Muhammad, who quickly launched reforms and announced plans for a transition to civilian rule. But just months later, on February 13, 1976, Murtala was assassinated in an abortive coup. His chief of staff, General Olusegun Obasanjo, assumed office and carried forward the transition program. True to his promise, Obasanjo handed power to a civilian administration on October 1, 1979, marking Nigeria's Second Republic. The Second Republic ushered in Alhaji Shehu Shagari of the National Party of Nigeria as the country's first civilian president. His tenure was marked by oil boom revenues, but also by widespread corruption, economic mismanagement, and political violence. On December 31, 1983, the military struck again. This time, Major General Muhammadu Buhari seized power, promising discipline, accountability, and an end to corruption. Buhari's government launched a war against indiscipline, but his regime was considered authoritarian, and on August 27, 1985, it was overthrown by General Ibrahim Babangida. Babangida's 8-year rule was dominated by promises of transition to democracy, the introduction of the Structural Adjustment Program, and the creation of two government-approved parties, Social Democratic Party and National Republican Convention. In June 1993, a presidential election won by business mogul and SDP candidate Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola was annulled by Babangida, throwing Nigeria into crisis. Amid growing protests, Babangida stepped aside on August 26, 1993, handing over to Chief Ernest Shonekan-led interim national government, which lasted barely 3 months. On November 17, 1993, General Sani Abacha seized power. Abacha's regime was marked by harsh repression, corruption, and human rights abuses. His regime jailed opponents, annulled democratic structures, and was internationally isolated, especially after the execution of writer and activist Ken Saro-Wiwa in 1995.
Consequently, the following decisions come into immediate effect. The interim national government is hereby dissolved. The national and state assemblies are also dissolved. The state executive councils are dissolved. The brigade commanders are to take over from the governors in their states until administrators are appointed. Where there are no brigade commanders, the commissioners of police in the states are to take over. All local governments stand dissolved. The directors of personnel are to take over the administration of the local governments until administrators are appointed. The National Electoral Commission is hereby dissolved. All former secretaries to federal ministries are to hand over to their director generals until ministers are appointed. The two political parties are hereby dissolved.
Abacha's sudden death on June 8, 1998 paved the way for General Abdulsalam Abubakar to assume power. Abubakar quickly began a transition program that returned Nigeria to civil rule on May 29, 1999. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the former military ruler, returned as a civilian president under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, signaling the start of the current Fourth Republic. Obasanjo's administration emphasized debt relief, consolidation of democracy, and anti-corruption through the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and independent corrupt practices and other related offenses. Obasanjo handed over to Umaru Musa Yar'Adua on May 29, 2007. Yar'Adua launched a 7-point agenda but died in office on May 5, 2010, after a prolonged illness which made him incapacitated to govern for many months. Goodluck Jonathan, who was Yar'Adua's vice and later acting president, completed the term and later won re-election in 2011.
Do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution.
In 2015, Nigeria made history when incumbent President Jonathan lost at the polls. Muhammadu Buhari, who once ruled as a military head of state, returned as a democratic president after previous 3 failed attempts. He was elected president under the platform of the ruling All Progressive Congress. It was the first peaceful transition of power between parties since independence. Buhari was re-elected in 2019 and completed his 2 terms in 2023. Today, Nigeria is under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was elected and sworn into office on May 29, 2023.
That I would be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution.
His administration continues the Fourth Republic, which stands as the longest stretch of civilian governance in Nigeria's history, a testament to the country's enduring commitment to democracy despite decades of turbulence. From independence to coup, from civil war to democratic transitions, Nigeria's political history tells a story of resilience, struggle, and the continuous search for stability and good governance. Lydia Ajayi, African News 24 TV.